What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I got some updates for you. So let's go ahead and get right into it. A little bit of it, obviously, of this is going to be a bit repetitive, obviously, because it's ongoing stuff. But there is new data, new quotes, new information. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first thing that I want to talk about, there's a couple different things. The first thing that I want to talk about, though, is actually something from yesterday that I had missed. The NFL proposed cutting each team's player costs by $40 million. So the NFL proposed cutting each of the 32 teams' player costs by $40 million in a salary cap and or benefits in 2020 amid the COVID-19 pandemic. So just yet another way, of course, that the NFL and ultimately the owners, because the owners would benefit from this. If the salary cap goes down, that means that they have less money to pay the players. Now, obviously, you would have less resources to build your team, which is problematic for the owners, but it does actually save them money because then they'd be spending less instead of spending, which we'll get to some of that in a minute, because there's some talks about it, the salary cap next year possibly being like massively slashed anyway. But if they have less money to pay, that saves them money, but obviously then there's less resources to be able to build your team and pay people what they're asking for or what they deserve even, right? So they would be undercutting people, and their agents, players and their agents and stuff like that. Anyway, so let's continue on. Which has already shortened the preseason to 2 games and forced teams to limit attendance or eliminate it entirely. Tom Pelissero of NFL Network dropped the report Thursday evening and noted that player leadership is strongly opposed to such a short-term hit. The NFLPA wants to divide the shortfall over multiple future salary caps, while the league wants to absorb the financial blows immediately. But they don't want to absorb it. Right? They want to make sure that it's the players and the fans, etc., that absorb it, not them. Because they have the money, they have the from the profits from previous years and the millions upon millions, billions, trillions of dollars that they've made. They could just absorb these hits. Again, the right answer, shut down the season, pay the players, nothing more than that. It's just, but whatever. Per Pelissero, any revenue shortfall not handled in 2020 would have been accounted for in 2021, perhaps leading to a situation where veteran players would be released or asked to restructure their deals. Well, of course they would, because they're the ones that have to fucking take the hits, not the NFL or the owners. No thanks, one player told Pelissero, not taking the COVID risk and the financial burden, which is what they want. They want them to take both. They want them to take the financial hits to save the NFL and the owners money, and then they also want to make sure that they have all of the risk, and so that way the NFL and the owners have no accountability, don't have to pay any kind of medical bills, don't have to pay out lawsuits if people die. It's just gross. A failure to make a new deal would mean that a projected multi-billion revenue shortfall in 2020 would be accounted for in 2021, which would entail a salary cap drop between $50 million to $70 million. Over the cap currently lists a base salary cap for the 2021 season at $215 million. But, like they said just a second ago, it could drop between 50 to 70 million per team. That's crazy. The NFL wants a deal finished by training camp, which is scheduled to start July 28th. The NFLPA is in no rush per Pelissero, but rookies are supposed to report in 2 days. Players can also opt out of the 2020 season by August 1st. The NFL and NFLPA had agreed to a new CBA that would take them through 2030 per ESPN's Dan Graziano. However, as Pelissero reported, the two sides must negotiate in good faith and correct a projected multi-billion-dollar revenue shortfall. Real quick, just as a side note, yesterday the country broke shattered records for number of new cases in a single day. I think it was over 70,000. In my numbers that I was tracking, I was at 72,000. That's doing averages off of multiple different sources. But the reports I saw had it at 77. I did my numbers a little while ago. The increase in cases was 92,000. That's insane. Okay. Some of the NFL's most popular players have chimed in recently regarding negotiations with the NFL, with Houston Texans defensive end J.J. Watt listing players' questions and concerns, which I gave you in a previous video. Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes also noted how the NFL and NFLPA are now in a race against the clock, despite having a lot of time to figure out a solution. And he says, stuff is crazy, man. All this time we had, and now we are down to this. As Pelissero noted, because it's all about greed for the NFL and the owners. That's it, bro. As Pelissero noted, the Chiefs and Texans, who were supposed to open the regular season Thursday, September 10th, are mandated to report to training camp Monday or face discipline if the NFL and NFLPA can't come to terms on testing and health and safety protocols amid COVID-19. So they would be forced to go into camp or face discipline, because they're not going to be in agreement in the next couple days. What do you mean? So that's crazy. Perhaps setting the stage for multiple grievances. No kidding. Per Ian Rappaport of NFL Network, Texans and Chiefs rookies and quarterbacks are supposed to report to camp Monday for COVID-19 testing. Man, this is just getting out of control. But to continue this conversation on, from Yahoo Sports, there's rising confusion inside teams and wariness from players. Still, the NFL is opening select camps on Monday. With frustration over loose ends lingering among a multitude of NFL teams and players on Friday, the league's team owners continue to reiterate their commitment to keeping the season on track, right down to Monday's rookie reporting date for the Kansas City Chiefs and Houston Texans. And I mean, the Texans have already had a bunch of players who have tested positive. Texas is one of the worst states in the country. It's disaster. And they would, I just mentioned a few minutes ago from the other article, they would be forced to report to training camp if they can't, or be disciplined if there is no agreement come to in the next couple days, which there's not gonna be. They're so far from agreeing to terms. There's no way they're gonna be ready in the next couple of days. So that means the Texans and the Chiefs will be forced to report to camp. Their entire teams forced to report to camp or be disciplined. I mean, it's beyond outrageous. It's beyond outrageous. Both of those teams were instructed to bring their rookies in on Monday, despite the League and NFL Players Association still standing apart on some fundamental issues. That has led to a significant amount of confusion for teams with veteran camps slated to open just over a week away. Multiple league sources, including head coaches, general managers, players, and other NFL personnel, expressed a mixture of dismay about the continued push to get camp started on time, with some key details still in the dark. One general manager said Friday that he assumed the August 1st opt-out opportunity for players for the 2020 season led him to believe that training camp wouldn't begin until after that date, largely because what sense does it make to have players report on July 28th but leave a window open for an opt-out until 4 days later? And that's a good question. Why? Why does that make sense? It doesn't. But none of this makes any fucking sense. Another general manager said bluntly that it made no sense to have rookies report to two NFL teams on Monday if there is still no agreement on how to spread out the financial impact of lost revenues in the coming years. Among far more important things, of course, that's a GM, caring about the financial bullshit, which is important, but what's far more important is the health and safety of these people, which there are still many, many issues on various different levels there, with testing and blah, 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 blah. That doesn't seem like a great solution if they don't have the economics ironed out yet, the general manager said. Two head coaches also told Yahoo Sports they have been handcuffed the past few days on what to instruct their players and staff, from setting schedules to giving coaches an idea of when to return from their summer breaks. That has led to a cycle of confusion and inertia, all taking place with COVID-19 spikes in some states, has the head coaches concerned about asking players to fly. All of this is sampling of where the situation stands for teams opening in the coming days. It's an outlook that falls somewhere in a gray range between messy and dangerous depending on who is providing the context. It's dangerous, dude. It's absolutely dangerous to keep pushing this. But, I mean, he is right about that. It does depend on who is pushing the context, but it also ranges to like no big fucking deal, because that's what the NFL and the owners are saying. Guys, it's going to be no big deal. Don't worry about it. Just report back. Or if you don't, we're going to fucking discipline you. Like, okay, what the fuck, dude? Inside that shaky landscape, the NFL continues to tell teams and the union that it is pressing forward. An ownership meeting Friday delivered no clarity about whether a delay to the start of the season was hanging in the balance, despite that possibility being a topic open for discussion. Ultimately, that meeting ended without any significant news of advances, leaving the league to issue a statement that indicated little more than continued talks, they said this. NFL clubs met today via video conference and received an update on preparations for the 2020 season. That statement said, "We will continue to implement the health and safety protocols developed jointly with the NFLPA and based on the advice of leading medical experts, including review by the CDC," which, as we know, is not even going to be involved in this anymore because Trump put in a mandate that all data goes to his administration and bypasses the CDC, which is going to just only compound this situation and make it even more disastrous. The CDC is not going to have any information for him anymore. It's it's just such a fucking shit show. We will address additional issues in a cooperative way. All decisions will be made in an effort to put us in position to play a full regular season and postseason, culminating with the Super Bowl, which is the shared goal of the clubs and the players. So yes. But the thing is, there is a stark divide, right? When you have the NFL, the owners, and then even a lot of like the GMs and stuff like that, and even probably some of the coaches right now on the side of just push. And because it's all about greed. On the other side, you have like all of the players. They want to play, right? Of course they want to, but they are not going to do it if it's going to risk their health and that of their family members, etc. It's just absurd. And I guarantee you a lot of the fucking coaches for sure will not, if they are on board with it, certainly won't be once there are fucking outbreaks throughout their fucking buildings, and especially if they get it. The largest amount of clarity of what is coming may have been provided by the union, which indicated Friday that the NFL has insisted that training camp must start on time. That much was made clear by NFLPA Executive Director Damari Smith on Friday when he said a call this week between the union and NFL team doctors resulted in a unified front from the league's medical professionals that it is safe to open camps next week. But see, I mean, that's such a disaster, bro. Like, it's not surprising because these are NFL team doctors. So, I mean, they're employed by the NFL, more specifically each of the teams, but by the ownership, right? So, like, the Dolphins just hired an infectious disease specialist. Cool. But they're paying the guys. So, they gotta, do whatever they say, essentially. So, I mean, if the owners are fervent on making sure it opens, then they're going to be like, okay, we're going to put in these protocols, right, and these guidelines. There's no way we can actually enforce people to make sure that they wear the masks, etc., 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 but we're going to put them in, and you're going to say that it's cool, and then we're going to keep going. And that's what's going to happen. Anyway, Smith also added context that could lead to an unraveling of camps next week. Specifically, the NFLPA wants daily testing, while the league has indicated a schedule of 3 tests per week, with 24-hour breaks in between to get results of tests as they occur. Smith said the union will not back off its push for daily testing, adding that the regimen and other safety protocols must be agreed upon before the two sides can work out an agreement on sharing the revenue loss that will occur this year. That's a significant point given that multiple league sources have said the financial impasse on spreading out the revenue loss remains the biggest stumbling block to starting training camps on time. But that just goes to show you, though, how fucking disastrous this is and the mentality of these people, because they think that's the biggest fucking block. And it's a big one. It's huge. But the bigger one is the health and safety. Because, look, man, even if they somehow manage to come to some agreement, which is unlikely on the financial shit, then they open up camps, and then you're going to have massive outbreaks. It's going to be insane. As one league source put it, the sides aren't close enough yet on the economic issues, but are within spitting distance on many other topics. I mean, we gotta brace for impact is all I'm saying, man, because this shit, bro, this shit is gonna be absolutely no fucking joke. I mean, I'm telling you, like, I can only do but so much, right? I make my videos, I give people the forewarning, right? I try and sound the alarm bells, and I do my best, but I can only do so much, right? It's up to people to decide on whether they want to heed the advice, take it, and listen or not. And look, I mean, everybody has their own choices to make, and they're free to make those choices. And look, you know, people might come out of it and be fine. You might go to a game and fucking leave and never get it, right? But you'll be lucky. You'll be lucky. And it might even be in part because you'll be doing your part, right? You might be wearing your mask or whatever. But, I mean, it's not going to stop other people from not wearing theirs. And it's not going to stop the outbreaks from happening. And you might luck out, and it might help to keep the numbers down to some extent, but it's not going to stop it from happening to begin with and it being a disaster. The only way to stop it is for it just to not happen at all and people not be in those situations, right? So anyway, I got one more little bit to add to you because this gets a little bit more Dolphins specific. So there's a report from the Miami Herald. NFL Players Union voices concern about opening camp in South Florida as rookies await word. So South Florida specifically because Florida is like the hot spot in America right now. They are just, it is flooding the state just with reckless abandon. No, it is raging out of control, and they're doing nothing about it. They're doing nothing about it. But let's get into this. NFL Players Union officials said Friday they have expressed concern about opening training camps in markets that have become hotspots for COVID-19, such as South Florida, but team doctors from those handful of markets told them late this week that they believe it's safe to do so. That's what I'm saying, bro. Like, it's absurd. It's absurd. Because, and they're just hacks. They're just hacks. Look, you know, people are going to be like, oh, but they're doctors. So you want to say listen to the medical experts, but then you don't want to listen. But bro, you gotta look deeper in that, right? Because when you look at the world scientists, the vast majority of world scientists, and then when you look at, you know, the scientists and the experts that are coming from, you know, the various top medical facilities around the country and leading schools in that have, you know, programs in that and so on and so forth, right? Like Dr. Fauci, the leading infectious disease expert in the country. When you look at the testimony from these people, it just doesn't, and then the data to go with it, it just doesn't match up. The union has not asked for training camps in those hotspots, primarily South Florida, Houston, Phoenix, Los Angeles, to be relocated, and there's no indication that the league is planning to do so. Dolphins rookies were originally scheduled to report to their Davie facility next Tuesday, but as of midday Friday, the Dolphins had not told their rookies whether that's still the plan. According to a close associate of one Dolphins rookie, the team conveyed weeks ago that it was possible rookies might report July 23rd or July 26th instead of July 21st. But that a decision hadn't been made. So, but let's stop there right now. So they haven't given them word yet. So, or updates yet. So what that means is, as it stands, the official date for them to report is still the 21st. So that's 4 days from now. Okay. So the official date is still the 21st. I don't know if these guys are going to go or not. Maybe some will, maybe some won't if they don't give them any updates between now and then. But they need to. And sooner rather than later, because then if they get onto planes and fly back to Florida, oh God, it's just going to be such a fucking disaster. Training camp for all Dolphins players is expected to begin on July 28th, and NFLPA Executive Director Damari Smith said Friday that the league has conveyed that it wants to start training camp on time. A couple of weeks ago, we started to raise concerns about spikes in a number of jurisdictions, including yours, South Florida, Smith said. Our job as a union is to hold the league accountable to providing as safe a workplace as possible. NFL owners held a conference call on Friday, and there was no indication that they would move the season back. So they haven't told the players that, but the official date is the 21st for the rookies to report, and they want to start the season on time. So, anyway, let's see. NFL clubs met today via video conference call and received an update on preparations for the 2020 season. That was from the NFL spokesman, Brian McCarthy. We will continue to implement the health and safety protocols, blah, blah, blah. I already, read that to you. About that they want to get it going, and they plan to have a full season straight through the Super Bowl, etc. As a result, Smith said the union, for the first time during his tenure, called for an emergency meeting of all of the team doctors who are the head of their medical practices for the teams in quote unquote hotspot areas to address those very questions. Smith said the doctors during that Thursday night phone call said with a couple of reservations that it was safe to open training camp, and they provided their medical reasons. Some we agreed with and some we may not have. One reason we became increasingly alarmed about Houston and these other hotspots is the impact of available hospital beds and ICU beds. NFLPA President and Cleveland Browns center J.C. Tretter said, "We have players nervous about flying from a relative safe location to a hotspot with their families, their kids, their wives. That's a major concern with stuff going on in Houston as well as Miami. How safe is that? Our jobs is to hold the NFL accountable. Those are the questions we want answered. How safe is it to start back up a football season at this moment where teams are located going through giant spikes of this virus? The health and safety aspect has to be taken care of with the players first and foremost." And see, that's the thing, right? So that's Jason Tretter. He's the president of the NFLPA for the players, right? So he's like the lead spokesman for the players themselves, the group of players within the NFLPA, and then you have like the executive boards and the top fucking spokespeople for the organization that is the NFLPA. And that's why when you hear like the difference between the GMs talk, for example, and the biggest impasse is the financial situation. We just can't get the money right because we can't convince the players to take pay cuts and let us hold 35% of their revenue or their salaries in escrow and all this other bullshit, right? But you hear him talk and he's like, bro, it's about our fucking safety. It's about our fucking safety. Like, come on, man. This is ridiculous. Several Dolphins haven't moved to South Florida until they receive clarity from the Dolphins about when rookies should report. A team spokesman did not offer an answer Friday when asked if the team will bring rookies to camp on Tuesday as planned. So, pause right there for a second. So, there are already several Dolphins players who haven't moved there. So, if they keep this up and keep procrastinating and don't give them word, but then they tell them, hey, okay, report, then they gotta scramble like last minute to get there, but then go to a fucking hotspot. Or decide not to fucking go and then possibly get disciplined or whatever. It's just a giant fucking mess all around. Asked if he has considered asking the league to delay the start of the season by a month, Smith made clear that's the league's decision under terms of the collective bargaining agreement. But he said, "We are all trying to get to the right decision far more than we are trying to get to a fast decision. About report dates, let's level set a little bit." Yeah, I mean, you definitely got to be safe rather than sorry. Smith and Tretter addressed other issues during a conference call with reporters from dozens of outlets, including the Miami Herald. They said the NFL hasn't answered these two questions they've asked. How many positive COVID tests on a team would it take to shut down a team? And if, hypothetically, a center tests positive 2 days before a game, would the NFL require, as Tretter said, 35 players in close contact with that player during practice to quarantine, thus leaving teams needing to find 36 replacement players on short notice to play a game? That's what I'm talking about. Like, what if your entire team gets shut down? I mean, it's just a joke, dude. It's just a fucking sick joke. Smith confirmed the union has asked that there be no preseason games played. The league wants 2 instead of 4, but because players need time for an acclimation period after having no formal on-field off-season program, and because to engage in 2 games where players would be flying all over the country. Doing that prior to the season doesn't increase the likelihood of starting and finishing the season on time. The Players Union wants the union's ramp-up period to include 21 days of strength and conditioning, followed by 10 days of non-padded practice, then 14 days of contact acclimation. That would not allow for preseason games, and the NFL wants to start the regular season on September 10th as planned. Treader said that timetable grew out of discussions with medical experts. I mean, that's insane. Smith said the union wants players to be tested every day. The league reportedly wants testing every other day. We believe daily testing is important, especially in some of these hotspots. Because revenues likely will decrease significantly without full stadiums, Smith said the 2021 salary cap could plunge from $198 million this year to $120 million unless the league and union agree to a long-term plan to smooth that out. $78 million. But who does that hurt? It hurts the players. I mean, yes, obviously it hurts the organization as a whole because then they have far less resources. But what are they going to do with that? Right? How are they going to fix that, if you will? They are going to demand that players take pay cuts. Massive, 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 massive pay cuts. And if they don't, then they'll just get people who will come in for dirt fucking cheap. It's fucking gross. If we had our preference, we would never want players this year or next year to unfairly bear the brunt of a massive decrease in revenue in football, Smith said. They are taking the most risk by coming back to work at this time. I've said it a million times. They want them to take all the risk, have all the accountability, blah, 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 all the financial impact. But even if the league and union cannot agree on unresolved issues, Smith left the impression he would not tell players to simply not report. I mean, that's not good, bro. Our job is to hold the league, this is what he says, is to hold the league accountable to providing as safe a workplace as possible. The league is the management. They have the exclusive right, like somebody who owns a plant. When does it open? When does it close? What are the hours? The CBA dictates wages, hours, working conditions. Okay, but that's a disaster, bro. That's a disaster because take, for example, the meatpacking plants. They insisted on having them open, and then there were massive outbreaks. Okay, dude. I mean, but see, that's the thing, is if even the NFLPA, if even a lot of their leadership is going to fail, like, this is just a massive recipe for insane amounts of disaster. Though this issue didn't come up on the call, players reportedly will not strike because that would result in the voiding of the NFL's long-term labor deal, and the league then could institute a deal less economically friendly to players. Frankly, that one's garbage as is. And they should, man, because god damn it, dude. They need to just shut the fucking NFL down. Because, I mean, if the garbage CBA and then all these ways that they're trying to fuck the players so openly, so brazenly right now during the middle of a pandemic, and then all of the risk to them, if they can't see, man, that they need to fucking shut this shit down and just, like, not fucking open back up, ensure that the NFL loses 100% of their revenue until they get fucking everything that they want. Right? Like, I mean, it's no concessions to the NFL. No, they have to bend over backwards to the will of the players. And then we can resume. That's what they should do. Veteran Rams left tackle Andrew Whitworth briefly appeared on the call, and he said he and 8 other members of his family tested positive for COVID-19, and it was definitely a scary thing, and realized how contagious this is. Remember, 72 players already, as of like yesterday or whatever, have been confirmed tested positive so far, 2.5% before they have opened training camps. It's going to explode if they force them into training camps. Treader made clear the players are at risk even if health protocols meet the union's expectations. You can pull up any picture from a December winter game and see how much breath is blown back and forth from being a yard away from each other and understand what's going on, he said. We're all at risk. Different positions are even more at risk. Every decision we need to make this year needs to be made through our medical lens. Smith said he doesn't know of any player who has formally opted out of playing this season. Smith closed the call by saying nothing will bring fans back to our stadiums faster than the simple decision across the country to wear a mask. It's not gonna happen. You have a third of the country that are just, I mean, a myriad of things. Stubborn, ignorant, despicable people, oftentimes right-wing, etc., that are just adamant about refusing. And it's devolving rapidly, and yet they keep on. And so, look, I've said it time and time again. This is a mixture for disaster, and it is playing out just as I've said it is. And look, the first rookies are expected to report in 2 days for the Texans and the Chiefs. The rest of the team's rookies are supposed to report in 4 days on the 21st. And then all teams, veterans, all the teams, full roster, coaching staffs, everything. Well, coaching staffs should already be there, obviously, to some degree. I don't know exactly to what degree for the rookies, etc. But everybody then on the 28th in 11 days has to be there. And on the 17th, they are pushing for a full open. So it's not going to be much longer before we see it. Mark my words. Hear me now, quote me later. If the Texans and the Chiefs report on the 19th, if the rest of the league's rookies report on the 21st, and if everybody reports on the 28th, and then if there's preseason games, every subsequent push towards opening is going to exponentially compound this problem. So that's what it is, man. I've said it. So with that, I'm going to get out of here. I hope you guys appreciate my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comments section. And of course, as always, make sure you follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.